I went off to Paris to start modeling, and it sounds so much more glamorous than it was. I was a rebellious teenager. I was questioning authority. Who really knows the truth? Who really knows what's right and what's wrong? Who's to say? And I knew that what I was holding in my hands was the truth. And as I read, my life was forever changed.
Welcome to this edition of Life's Perspective. I'm Mike Miller. Thanks for tuning in today. My special guest, Roger Woods. How you doing, Roger?
I'm doing great, Mike. This is a good day for me.
Fantastic. Roger and I used to work together at South Central Power for a number of years, and have remained friends for a long time, and share some medical issues, I guess we do. And but Roger has done something that people talk about, but Roger has been able to climb down the Grand Canyon and climb back out.
Yes, and I made it.
Yeah, you made it. Now, what did you wake up one day and say, gee, I want to do this?
No, Mike. I was on vacation in Arizona back in the 90s, and we came across the Grand Canyon, and I thought, well, I'd like to go to the bottom. I'd like to get down there. I knew that the fastest way down was by mule. So I went to the mule stable, and they said, well, you have to have a 6-month reservation. So
6 months?
6 months out.
Wow.
So at that time, I asked my daughter, which was a park ranger at that time, and she got me a reservation for around 6 months later. So I anticipated the trip down for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to see what the
Sure.
bottom of the Grand Canyon was like. And I get there, and this is what the person told me. You got to weigh in. You can't be over 200 pounds.
Well, that eliminates me.
Well, when I left Ohio, I weighed 196, and I just knew that I could make the grade. Airplane food is not that fattening. But this is what the man said when I stepped on the scales. He said, you're too heavy by 2 pounds, and we can't let you go. And
This is when you were in Arizona going down, okay.
oh, this was in the 90s. In,
Okay.
I think 99 is
Okay.
what it was. So I thought, well, surely 2 pounds. What's 2 pounds? A mule is not going to feel 2 pounds. So he said, well, if we let you on at 2 pounds more, then the next person's going to be 3 pounds. And so I thought, surely I could talk my way onto this mule with just 2 pounds. But this is finally what he said to me. He said, Mr. Woods, I realize that you've been waiting for 6 months. And I realize that you got on a plane in Columbus, Ohio 3 days ago to get here, and I realized you spent the night in a hotel, and you got up at 4 o'clock this morning. I realize that because you've told me 6 times now, but it still doesn't matter. You're too heavy. So I put my tail between my legs and went back to Ohio. It was a devastating thing.
So now do they still have that rule? Is it still
Yes,
in
they
place?
do. 200 pounds.
So you came back, now you're 70.
I am now.
So you came back and said, I'm going to walk down now.
Well, for a long time, Mike, I thought I could just lose 5 or 6 pounds and then, get there
Sure.
and be fine. So I thought, well, the best way to go down is on a mule.
Now what do they charge? What's the cost?
$150 at that time.
Okay.
And I think it's a little bit more now. Now, what that does for you, though, is it goes all the way to the bottom. You have lunch, and then you come back out the same day. So, but I thought that if I could lose a few pounds, I'd be fine, and I did. And then I got to thinking, wonder how it would be just to walk it because of the experience. And so I checked with my daughter, and she said that you do have to have reservations for the campground. But she also said, Dad, it's tough. It's brutal. And but she said, if you decide to go down, I'll go with you. And that, but you'll have to prepare. You'll have to prepare to get yourself in shape, and also you're going to have to know your gear, because you've got to carry your tent in, you've got to carry your sleeping bag, you've got to have water, you've got to have food. It's going to be about 35 pounds on your back, and you need to train for it. So that's what I did. I trained for it, and
So you say it so casual, like I trained to walk down the grid. Talk about what you did every day, how long it took you to get to where you wanted to be, and all, because you did a lot. Because I mean, I ran into you quite a few places outside, and you were either out biking or you were riding. Talk a little bit about your training schedule, what you had to do that.
Well, I knew that I had to get in shape. So I contacted a trainer at the YMCA, and he basically told me what I needed to do. And he said that biking is good, treadmills are good, but he said he had been to the canyon. He had hiked the canyon, and he said, you're going to have to be more realistic than just a treadmill or a bike. You need to get out where there's similar terrain. And he said, I want you to start on Mount Pleasant. Then I want you to go to Clear Creek. Clear Creek is got some pretty good trails. So that's what I did. I started light at Mount Pleasant, and by the time I'd finished, I had gone up Mount Pleasant more than 500 times.
500 times up and down?
Yes, 500 times. Now, that's when I quit counting at 500. But I think it was more like 600.
Okay, so when you started, what was the first, when you went up, how long did it take you to go up and down?
Well, I did it lightly. It was about 50 minutes.
50 minutes? Then at the end of?
20 minutes.
20 minutes.
Up and down.
Okay. And this is with 40 pounds of pack?
35.
35, okay.
And I could continue to do that, Mike. In February of last year, before I went to the canyon. Then I went to Clear Creek, which Clear Creek is different, the footing's different, it's steeper, sometimes you go down, sometimes you go up, and I did well there. Now, the last day before I went to the Grand Canyon, I had a hike along. I had my neighbors and friends come along, and I did it 28 times in one day. But sometimes I'd have a person with me for 2 trips up, sometimes a person for 1 trip up. Sometimes they'd only go half a trip up and back down.
What did you notice first? Your legs, your feet? What did you notice first?
Breathing.
Boy, this has changed. Okay.
Breathing. I was breathless when I got to the top the first time. And second time, third time, fourth time, for a long time. And then after you get your lungs in shape, your legs, of course, what you want to do is go fast. And once you go fast, you get the leg burns. And after a while, after you're up at several hundred times, it's not bad at all. You can just, you just walk it up and walk down. Now, you don't run it. You just walk. Some days I'd go a little faster than others. Some days I didn't feel like going very fast. But the scenery at the top is fabulous. I mean, you go up there and you can look around. And then, of course, also, after a while, I started climbing down around the face of it. I know that that's dangerous, but I managed to hang on okay. And
now, did you have to have special hiking boots, or?
Yes, I did. I went to a place in Pickerington called the Shoe Works, and they fitted me special for hiking boots. I got the high-end type hiking boots. I knew I had to have, you got to be strong in the feet and the legs. You got to be strong. And they fitted me just fine with the boots and also with orthotics. So.
From the time you started until the time you went to the Grand Canyon, how long was it?
6 months.
6 months.
6 months of training.
And you walked every day of that 6 months?
Every day. Yes, every day. And when I was out of town on vacation, I would also walk. I would try to find something that would challenge me.
How much weight did you lose from the time?
10 pounds. No,
10 pounds?
Yeah, it's all lost. I eat a lot. I'm not kidding you.
Well, okay, so what did you do with your diet? I mean, you had to change your diet, obviously.
My wife's an excellent cook. She handled that part, and I just went right along with it because everything was real.
What, did you cut anything out that you normally had, or?
Not really, Mike. No, just a normal diet. Now, it does take special equipment, special food to go down into the canyon. You want light food. You don't want heavy food. 35 pounds is about all a person of my age should handle going down. And what you do is you even learn to tie your shoes correctly, because what you don't want is your shoes coming untied with 35 pounds on your back going downhill. So. Now, so you did all this training, you went out there, and when you got there, was there ever a time you thought, oh boy, I don't know? Because my understanding is, I think you told me that once you're down there, if you can't get out, they come and get you, but they charge you a couple $1,000s to do it. There's 4 ways out, Mike. You can walk out, you can be carried out, you can ride a mule out, or you can take a helicopter out, and each one of them's got their price.
Wow.
I actually seen a 6-man litter team carrying a person out when I was there. And I have no idea what the cost is. I have no idea whether insurance pays for it. But I imagine it's pretty costly.
Have you ever been to the Grand Canyon before this? Have you ever been there?
No.
So when you first got there, what did you think?
It was absolutely fabulous. I had read about the canyon, and of course, when you read about the canyon, they say it's the greatest hike on earth. It's not the most demanding hike on earth, but the scenery is breathtaking. On the way down, you look around and you just, and you keep looking, Mike, and you think, I can't see the Colorado River yet, and I'm halfway there. So, or at least I think I'm halfway there. So what happens is you do get tired, but you're also excited about the trip, and you know what's going to happen when you get to the bottom. It's going to be fabulous, and I'm going to be with my daughter. We're going to camp a couple of nights, and we're going to come back out the 3rd day.
So when you walked down, was it all in one day, or did you stop and spend a night?
No, it was all in one day. It took almost 8 hours to get down.
Wow.
8 miles, 8 hours. So really the pace is not that great. You rest a lot, you eat, you drink, you look around, and 8 miles down, 8 hours.
When you got to the bottom, what was the first thing you thought?
Well, I made it. But I got to tell you, I was so tired, I did not know whether I could make it out. And what I had to do is, to settle my mind down, is I talked to a park ranger. And I thought, well, if I rest, I'll feel better. Well, the next day I was still pretty tired. So I talked to a park ranger, and they said, well, if you can make it halfway out, we might be able to have a campsite for you on an overflow basis at a place called Indian Gardens. So that made me feel a little bit better. But you know what I didn't want to do? I didn't want to embarrass myself because my daughter was there. I wanted, what my dream was, is say, Tracy, want me to slow down, sweetheart? That was my dream. But I never got that. I never got there.
Now, did you have training partners? I mean, you mentioned a couple times that you walked with people, but was there somebody that was,
No, not really. Not really. What I found was the friends that I have really didn't want too much to do with Mount Pleasant. They went up a few times with me, and that was about it.
When you got to the Grand Canyon, did you walk with other groups of people, or just walk with your daughter?
Just my daughter and I.
That was it?
That was it, yeah. Now, you pass a lot of people.
Sure.
What you do is you can tell the people that's only going halfway down, or a quarter way down, or part way down, because they're carrying their water in their hands, and they're dressed in shorts and things like that. And that usually indicates they're only going down, maybe half a mile or so. The hardcore hikers, you can tell them, they got 35 to 40 pounds on their back. They got their tents and sleeping bags, and they're businesslike. So,
Now, when you were in the bottom, you were there. Did you have a camping site, or did you just let's just throw a tent over there?
no, you have to have a camping site. There again, it's a waiting period. You apply for a camping site, and it usually takes about 6 to 8 months to get it.
Wow.
And it's designated on certain days. And so when you get there, when you get there, you know that you've got a site. That's what it is. But then you go to the park ranger, and then they give you the site that they want you to have. The campsite will hold 95 people. And, they've got cabins down there. They've got a canteen down there.
Really?
Yes. The cabins are about 5 years out on reservations, and the canteen usually about 6 months on reservations for food.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Now, how many people were there at the bottom when you were there? I mean, hundreds or-
Well, probably a couple of hundred. Now they've got 16 staff members down there that run the canteens and the cabins and the campsites and maintain the infrastructure.
So when you did all this and accomplished all this, and you've done that. Now the crew here is we have Jacob, who's a basketball player. Do you think could Jacob walk down right now?
He could, but he might hurt a little bit.
Just from the muscle fatigue more than the
muscle fatigue. When I got down there, Mike, my knees were not behaving properly. I could not get my mind to control my knees. So that's when I thought I might be in trouble a little. But rest helped it. The more I rested, the more my knees were okay. And
now the other thing I noticed, you've brought, this isn't water, this is electrolytes.
Electrolytes.
Now, talk a little bit about how you changed that, because I know we talked many times about you had to change just kind of some stuff that you were doing.
Well, what I did is I listened to the people that knew the canyon. I had a friend that had given me good advice. He works he's a trainer down at the YMCA, and he basically walked me through what I needed to do, what I needed to drink, and my pace, my training, the type of training.
How close was it to what he told you and what you actually experienced? Was it, he was right on?
It was brutal.
Was it, really?
The hike was absolutely brutal.
More so than you expected?
Yes, yes. If I hadn't trained Mike, I would have had to have been carried out there at my age. So.
And you continue training, though? You're still...
I do. My next trip is Glacier National Park.
Really?
Yes, I'm going to do that next August. Glacier is only open 100 days a year because of the weather. It's close. It's on the Canadian border, and it's of course a glacier park. There's 26 glaciers left. Within 10 to 15 years, all glaciers in that park will be gone. Not sure, but they say they'll be gone. Now, the reason they'll be gone is because it takes 25 acres of floating ice to make a glacier. And once they get below 25 acres, they're no longer a glacier. They're just a floating piece of ice. So they got 26 of them left. And the prediction is by 2030 they'll be gone. So I want to sleep on a glacier.
Really?
I do.
That's interesting.
I want to hike what they call the Highline Trail. And it's not going to be as brutal as the canyon. It's going to be scenic, and a lot of it is up and down, gradual up and down. So that'll be a treat.
Oh, I mean, I know that. What brought a lot of this on for you? I mean, some people, like I said, they just wake up and say, "I'm going to do this," but medical issues or what? Just
well, I did have some medical issues, and I basically thought that I was in big trouble. I did.
I've been there.
You've been there. I thought that my health was going to deteriorate really bad. I had some heart issues. And through Dr. Buckley and Dr. Noberto, they fixed me up. They cut my chest open, and they put a new aortic artery in. And recovery on that was about 2 months. Something happened at that point. I thought, well, I'm going to try to get back in shape, even though I'm 70 years old, or will be 70. I'm going to try to get back in shape and see if I can't challenge myself. I grew up in the mountains of West Virginia, and I was always physical. I worked for the power company for a lot of years. I had an inside job for a lot of those years, but then I had an outside job at the end. That was challenging, and so I just thought that I'd try to see what this old body could do.
It's amazing because we've talked about this many times as I've seen you around. Advice that you could give to people that don't exercise? That
Oh my, you need to exercise. You need to exercise. Keep your weight off. Exercise, watch your food. I have a habit of gaining weight, and when I do, I don't feel good. I can't do as much. I'm a little bit depressed. But when I control my weight, I feel much better.
Is there something you had to give up to when you were training that you always, whether it was
Ice
pop
cream.
or ice cream?
Ice cream, I love ice cream. Pizza.
And you had to give it up?
Well, I didn't have to give it up, but I thought that a lot of calories in ice cream, a lot of calories in pizza, so I sort of still eat it, but not quite as much.
Yeah. Now, to this day, do you still? I know you're talking about doing the glacier thing. Are you still exercising as much? You still walk Mount Pleasant? Do you still do all those things?
I do. I bike most of the time, 5 to 10 miles a day. Sometimes casually go out for 4 or 5 miles. And now I can do that as long as the roads are dry.
Right.
I can go down to about 0. I've got gear.
What was the weather like in the canyon when you went down?
It's 46 at the top and 76 at the bottom.
46 at the top and 76 at the bottom.
Yes.
Wow.
It's a mile deep. If you take a stone and if you're able just to drop it, it's 5,200 feet to the bottom. Now it's 8 miles if you do this.
Sure.
So, and of course coming out, Mike, it was 12 miles because we picked a trail called Kaibab Trail, and 8 miles, it's steeper. We came out of Bright Angel Trail, and it's less steep, but it was 12 miles long. And there's an oasis about halfway up. It's called Indian Gardens, and there's water there, and there's shade, and toilet facilities.
What did you used to do before to exercise? What did you used to do before riding bike?
Well, not much at all. No, I just did my normal activities, and my weight was not much of an issue until I got into the later years of my life. And then, of course, the thing that really woke me up is when I went to the Grand Canyon. I was too heavy to ride a mule.
Yeah.
I can't imagine a mule not carrying 202 pounds.
That is something.
It is. I'd think that they'd have 1 or 2 there. That would be okay
to do that, but that's now. Family. I mean, do they encourage you to do this glacier thing that you're talking about?
Now, my wife is really on board with me.
Is she going to go with you or not?
I hope to. She's going to go with me, but she's going to be staying in a lodge, and I'll be out and about for several days camping. And there's 4 lodges in Glacier National Park. One's on the Canadian side, and we'd like to visit all 4 lodges.
Now, are there special permits involved in this?
No.
You can just go?
You can just go. It's not that crowded. Now, the canyon is so popular that there's people from overseas that want to do it. And what's really amazing, only 2% of people that actually go to the canyon actually set foot on the bottom.
Only 2%?
Only 2%, which I thought was low, but maybe it's high.
Roger, we just have a few minutes left in the show, but is there? Are you going to write a book about this, or are you going to? I mean, is this something that you're lived it? I mean, obviously tell your grandkids and all that, but is this something that is a book in the future? Or?
Well, not really, but I'll talk to anybody about it. If they want to go out to the canyon, I can give them some first-hand advice. I'm 70 years old. I feel like I've accomplished something pretty good.
Sure.
Dr. Buckley asked me to be a part of the hospital advertising with the monitor, and they put me on the front of the monitor, which encourages people to have their little heart operations. So I guess maybe the advice that I'd like to give people is stay healthy and live long.
That's neat. That's fantastic. That's could you right now? How far could you ride today? If you just because we were talking about bikes earlier, and you're still bicycling. How far can you go? And
I could right now the shape that I'm in, Mike. I could probably bike all day. Okay.
Wow.
And now, could I bike quickly? I could probably keep a 12-mile-an-hour pace easily.
Okay.
Now, if I increased it to 16 to 18, I could probably go 15 miles without too much difficulty.
And you exercise every day. You make it a point to exercise every day.
Every day that I can, I exercise. Yes. Yes, I do.
That's amazing. I mean, that's amazing. I know we talked many times about it, but
well, there's a lot of things I'd like to do yet, even at age 70.
Sure.
I'd like to do the Appalachian Trail. I'd like to do the Pacific Trail. I'd like to do a lot of things. I just don't know whether there's enough time, and I just cross my fingers, Mike, that my health holds up. And every day's a bonus after you're my age.
Oh, absolutely.
That's the way I look at it.
Well, that's I mean, just to do that, because just to plan it and all those things and do the training of it, that's amazing. That is absolutely amazing.
Well, sometimes I wondered whether it was worth it. What you do is you take time away from your family to train, and it is painful, and you've got to dress for it. You got to buy all the right gear, so you do a lot of shopping and you do a lot of research. So, yeah.
Well, we've been chatting with Roger Woods, who actually went down to the Grand Canyon, came back out, and just it's amazing. It is absolutely. When you were coming back up, and we just have a few seconds left, what were you thinking about when you were coming back out?
Well, I wanted to raise my arms like this. But believe it or not, I was so tired that I barely hobbled out of that canyon. They call it the Grand Canyon Shuffle, and I had it. I had it. I did not raise my arms. I did not.
That is fantastic. Roger, it has been a pleasure, buddy.
Okay.
It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on.
Okay.
We'll get you on back time when you do the glacier thing. That would be fantastic.
That'd be great. I'll be glad to do it.
Thanks. Thanks for tuning in to this edition of Lancaster Perspective. I'm Mike Miller. And remember, until we meet again, let's make a difference.
Fairfield Medical Center, changing lives one patient at a time.
Because of bariatric surgery, I can easily sit in a chair at the movies.
I'm climbing new heights after open heart surgery.
My story doesn't end with lung cancer.
These waters were woven into the culture of Native American tribes. The descendants of the early Europeans built a business here based on agriculture. And today, this unique destination in the central Ohio countryside comes to life with stories and memories centuries old. The Fairfield County Historical Parks invites you to amazing Rock Mill. Above the falls of the Hocking River Gorge, here together, nature and man have created some truly American stories that you'll want to experience with the entire family. Visit us or learn more about Rock Mill and the largest wooden water wheel in the nation at historicalparks.org.